Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Winter is Coming Live, the official Game of Thrones after show of winteriscoming.net, brought to you by Entertainment Weekly. My name is Adam Rady, and I brought donuts today.
Woo!
To my left is Alison Haislip, and she ate one of those donuts.
Sugar high.
And of course, to my right is Jonathan London, and he did not eat any of the donuts.
But I'm gonna eat a few afterwards. So Sugar High, how are you?
That's a lie. So we are talking season 5, the entire thing of Game of Thrones. This is the wrap-up episode. So if you haven't seen all of Game of Thrones, you should definitely not watch this. You should go watch all Game of Thrones, then come back and check this out.
Yep.
We have been perusing the internet for your questions, opinions, comments, speculation, all the things about season 5, specifically the crazy finale ending, all culminating in, of course, Jon Snow's untimely death.
Oof.
Ugh.
Or is it?
Or is it? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we, of course, are going to get to that. But before we get to all of the individual topics and things like that, I want to talk to you guys about your kind of initial reactions. It's been 1 week since the finale. What is just your general thoughts about season 5? Everything kind of culminated into a couple sentence thought from, let's see, Alison Haislip, you first.
Season 5, to me, has been the most controversial season to date.
Okay.
The showrunners of Game of Thrones obviously went for it this season. I think they felt like they had a bit more flexibility since we got into portions where the book no longer went. So they didn't have to necessarily stay true to storylines that George R.R. Martin had written originally. So I think they really went for it, and they were like, "Look, we're not gonna just go the way you think it's going. We're gonna throw in some surprises," and they definitely did.
Yeah. Jonathan, your thoughts.
To jump off what Allison said, I learned that Twitter's a pretty awful place. There were a lot of people complaining about this season, especially early on, where they're like, not a lot is happening, while I'm watching the drama on the show saying a lot of stuff is happening, at least on a personal level, with these different characters and the chess pieces being put into place. I thought that stuff was great. And then towards the end, you just got these huge set pieces that I thought were what we're going to remember, but not really the substance of the entire season. They can't speak for the entire season. You know, comments on Twitter like, 2 episodes left, we might as well start the season, I thought were completely just wrong.
Well, kind of building off of that, now I get the easy part going off of both of you guys, is I think that the pace of the season definitely was different than any of the other seasons, because I do think it was a lot of chess pieces finally getting to a point. And I think when the season started, we all thought like, oh, okay, those positions have now moved to spots, so we're going to see a lot of stuff. It took about 6.5 episodes for things to get going in terms of those chess pieces finally moving to their quote-unquote final positions for the season for those big events to happen. And I do think that the writers on Game of Thrones finally got to express their unique voice and vision, because this now is distinctly book version, show version.
Right.
Absolutely. And we are getting a lot of things we've never seen before or expected to see.
Yeah.
And it's the only season where George R.R. Martin didn't write one of the episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
interesting. It also feels, kind of going off what you just said, it feels like, you know, season 1, so many ridiculously huge things happened that caused all the events.
Yeah.
And it was like you started in this nucleus and then it exploded. And now season 5 kind of, I feel like, is bringing it back together. Like we've come over the cusp, and now we're probably headed towards the end of the series.
It's actually really fun watching you do kind of the nucleus thing, because talking to anybody, I'm sure you guys have experienced this too, people kind of all do that. I've done that. I've had my friends do that, where they're like, everybody went out this way, and now this was the start of everybody coming together.
Right.
Inside of a man, there is a nucleus.
I thought that was really cool. Now, this
quoted
is
Nacho Libre on a Game of Thrones show. I'm really sorry about that.
This is a series about cripples, bastards, and broken things.
Right.
Not just in the books, but the show specifically, of course, which is obviously what we are talking about. Season 5, I think, was the quintessential example of that, because I think we get to see a lot of sort of broken people, and broken in different ways, because there are people still being broken, like Sansa. And she's, of course, trying to fight back. There's Arya, who we've mentioned, we think is a little tweaked in the head. And I think it's kind of hard to argue against that. But where I want to start is where we got to start somewhere brand new and see maybe some broken people and some storylines we hadn't got to experience yet, and that is Dorne.
Dorne.
Yeah, so when we first kind of see Dorne, it's this very brief glimpse at Doran talking to Ilaria. Then we find out that she basically wants to go to war. Duran's like, look, I just want to just have peace, and I want to avoid this. You're just going to have to get over it. And Ilaria takes things into her own hands, sends the necklace to Jaime. Jaime and Cersei are already kind of at odds, obviously, with the events that happened with Tywin at the end of last year. Jaime gets Bronn. They go off. There's that cool fight with them originally where Bronn takes on 3 and Jaime takes on the 1 and uses the gold hands.
Yep.
We get the Sand Snakes introduction. There's eventually, it culminates in sort of the battle where everybody's captured. Bronn is poisoned. He gets unpoisoned. Lots of crazy stuff.
He gets unpoisoned.
He gets unpoisoned.
Or healed, or cured, or something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a really kind of the poor man's summary of the events.
Right.
But I kind of want to ask you guys is just thoughts on Dorne specifically. Did you like Dorne? Did you dislike Dorne? This was somewhere brand new we hadn't experienced. Did it live up to your expectations?
I kind of love that Dorne feels like the beach resort of Westeros. And we haven't seen a location. That's something that George R.R. Martin did a very good job of, is making all of these locations so different from each other. And to introduce a new location in season 5 that does feel completely different from anywhere else we've been so far is pretty incredible. And so, and have the people in turn, you can tell that their culture was developed because of that environment. So I really enjoyed Dorne. I'm a little bummed that it feels like we're not going to be spending a lot of time there during season 6 because it feels like the storyline is going to follow Jaime now with poor dead Myrcella.
Yeah.
And we'll probably bring it back to King's Landing. But I enjoyed the time we have had at Dorne.
But Jaime's not an idiot, and when he sees his daughter poisoned in front of him, he absolutely knows who's responsible. So if we see more Dorne, we're going to see some warring Dorne, which I'm looking forward to because it felt the least populated of any of the places production-wise on the show.
It's like Hawaii.
It felt like they hopped the fence, and all of a sudden they were in the the garden.
Yeah.
And so I would like to see some more attention paid to Dorne, see it just a bit more populated, a bit more fleshed out, and I would love to see it go to war because we all love seeing that stuff on this show.
Can I ask you guys a question? Obviously I can.
Yeah.
I'm the host of the show. I can do whatever I want. See this beard? I'm a grown man. I eat cookies for breakfast. Do you think Myrcella is definitively dead, or is there any chance that she was saved potentially by, and I mentioned this, Trystane is presumably on the boat and presumably would know something about poisons. Maybe.
I would be shocked if she's saved just because I feel like that goes against what the show does. The show very rarely kills someone and then is like, no, never mind.
No,
Sorry.
teasing. Just kidding.
It sort of shocks me how many people who haven't read the books think the Hound is coming back.
How dare
This
you.
guy right over here.
Yeah,
This
like,
guy. Jeez, Ray Romano. over
Yeah.
here.
He's raising chickens.
He's raising chickens.
Yeah.
The Hound just got a farm.
All right,
and
let me
now
ask
he's
you
raising
ask you guys this. What's your favorite moment in Dorne this year? What was like the favorite scene that you had?
Oh, Bronn singing in the jail.
Okay.
For sure.
Cool. Jonathan?
It definitely involved Bronn in the jail.
But
Am
maybe
I
what
right?
Bronn was looking at in the jail?
I mean, come on. It was
Yeah.
a very well-written scene.
Oh, I would also say, even though we already mentioned it, Jaime realizing how he can use his gold
I was
hand.
about to mention the fight to me was just really cool. Bronn and Jaime turned into the new Brienne and Pod, who were the new Hound and Arya. So
Yes.
I think that that kind of progression of the twosomes, the dynamic duos in the show.
And now we
is
have
a lot of
Tyrion
fun.
and
Oh, and Varys.
Yep.
oh, I was gonna say
Oh, Jorah.
Jorah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I was gonna say
Yeah.
Johan. That's not his name.
Well,
Thank you.
and season 6 we may have Jorah and Dario.
yes,
that may
yes,
be the
good
new
call.
one.
Oh, that'd
good
be
call.
awesome.
Yeah.
So final predictions for season 6 concerning Dorne. Do you guys have any of those? Do you have any
you
predictions?
mean where we think it's going with Dorne?
Yeah,
Well, I
'cause
guess
you
I kind of
mentioned-
said
Yeah, you
that.
mentioned that you don't think too much of the story is going to revolve there, but
Right.
what of the story do you think maybe we'll see? Because it is total just speculation. What is something that you think maybe we'll see?
Well, I think if Myrcella is dead, that Duran. I feel like Jaime knows he can tell Duran what happened, and Duran would take care of Ilaria, Mistress Sandsnake. What have I been calling her?
Mr. Sandsnake was the good one.
I could see that happening. I could see Duran.
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 Yeah.
I could see them making a comeback. No, I could see Duran potentially shipping Ilaria back to King's Landing to stand trial. I could see that happening.
Okay, Jonathan, any predictions?
I think it's going to be a little more up at arms than that. If this show is headed towards everyone coming together in order to fight the White Walkers and this and that, and Dorne's got to get involved. And right now, their only involvement really is going to be based on war. So I would love to see
I'm very curious to see how Jaime will react to this, because Jaime's going to have to deliver this news to Cersei. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out, and I'm curious to know if Jaime will recognize that it was Ilaria and not Duran.
But the King's Landing...
And will that matter to him?
Yeah, the King's Landing he's returning to is not the same one he left.
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to sort of move on. There's lots to talk about. I'm sure we won't touch on everything, but the next thing to move on to is Stannis. Stannis the Manus.
Ooh, now he's one that I could see potentially not being dead. Solely because they did not actually show his death on camera.
Yeah, and the poor man's summary to Stannis, he's at the wall, tries to burn Mance because he wants to get not burn Mance, he wants to get Mance to take the knee so that he can get the wildlings on his side, which I find Stannis' arc, as we kind of look through it, there's a lot of seeds that Stannis planted that other characters picked up on. For example, Jon getting the wildlings on his side was originally Stannis' idea.
Right.
Stannis planted to Samwell Tarly. He said, keep reading Samwell Tarly. Mm-hmm. What's Sam do? He wants to go to Old Town. So these little kind of planted seeds that Stannis dropped, I think are so interesting when you go back and you analyze his story arc. And of course, it culminates in the fact that we see him being a good dad, we think, and then all of a sudden burning Meereen, and that was awful.
The burninating.
The burninating. And then, of course, his defeats and presumed death.
Right.
So
that is the first question. Is he dead?
Yes, he's dead. But what I love about Stannis is that idea that although his goals are noble, his means of achieving them are really, really bad. And so his goals are the same as anybody who has any noble, wants is like, I want to unite this kingdom. I'm the right ruler for it. I'm the next in line after my brother, and I'm the person who can bring peace. His way of going about it is so bad. And that's what's fascinating about him.
What would you say, based on that you are for or against Stannis?
Oh, he's an idiot.
He's an idiot.
I'm sorry, but this dude had no moral center. He just kept selling out. So although he wanted to do the right thing, get the wildlings, to unite. And that's going back to taking King's Landing. He was always leaping before he looked.
Yeah, we forget how much he's traveled in this show.
The dude's a screw up.
Yeah.
The dude is a total screw up, but his intentions are good.
He's a perfect example of the road to hell is paved with good intentions. He meant to be doing well, and instead he just kept screwing up and screwing up and screwing up.
Yeah.
If this is the end for Stannis, if he is indeed dead, which for all intents and purposes certainly appears that way, or does it? What is Stannis' legacy, do you guys think, on this show, or to not even just to the show, but to the characters in the show?
I think he gets ranked up there with the Mad King in a way. I think his legacy is a man who wanted so much power and wanted so much to prove he was right that his ultimate downfall was himself.
Yeah. Jonathan?
Yeah, he sacrificed the things most dear to him in order to get the things that he still couldn't attain. It was pretty awful.
He really kind of sold his soul to the devil, and I was very curious how that was going to play out.
But she was a super sexy devil.
She was a super sexy devil.
What?
Yeah, to me it was always very curious how it was going to play out. Was it going to work? Was selling his soul going to work? Or was it going to be the option where, like I said before, was the rabbit hole just going to keep getting deeper, where he was going to have to give more and more and more, to eventually where, we need more king's blood, so he was going to have to chop off his arm or something,
shoot.
I really kind of started
I didn't even think about something like that.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be bloodletting when they started talking about king's blood, and man, did that go badly.
Yeah.
That was probably the hardest portion for me to watch this season.
I have two last questions concerning Stannis, and that is, if Stannis is alive, could he ever recover or redeem himself in your eyes?
I could, if for some reason Stannis is still alive, I could see his storyline going a direction where Brienne or whoever he's now with convinces him to sacrifice himself for the greater good.
Right.
Maybe Brienne somehow realizes she can help Sansa if Stannis, is a sacrificial pig. I don't know where I was going with that. It's a sacrifice to that. But that's the only way I could see there being some redemption for Stannis.
Well, as you answer this question, Jonathan, about redemption, both of you kind of think about the question, when Brienne was standing there with the sword, were you as fans going, yes, kill him? Were you on the side of kill Stannis? So while you think about that, Alison, Jonathan, can he recover? Can he redeem himself if he's alive?
No, I don't think he's alive.
But if he is,
in fact,
could
it
he
would have
ever
been
recover?
awesome if they cut to a wide and the whole tree went down when she slashed at him. Like, that's how. I mean, when she monologues how much she wants to kill the guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
So
sure. The
you
guy's
were on
dead.
board.
You
You were cheering, like, kill him.
Yeah, but almost from Stannis' perspective, where it's like, dude, you're a world of screw ups. You might as well put yourself out of it. Like, just take the blade. That being said, as far as the geography of where all the events are happening, there's a great redemption story already happening right there, and it's Reeks. So I don't see them giving that kind of a storyline to Stannis.
Good
Alison,
point.
did you find yourself cheering for Stannis' demise there?
I don't know if cheering is the right word, but I was like, this is deserved.
Right.
You know?
What
'Cause-
does? Go ahead.
Oh, well,
I'm
just
sorry.
because Stannis is one of the more fascinating characters to me because he feels like a good guy who does bad things, as opposed to like Jaime, who I feel like started out as a bad guy and then started doing good things. You know? So I don't want to say I wasn't like stoked to see Stannis get killed. If he is killed, if he is dead, good words, Alison.
Good wording.
But good wordage. But it wasn't something I was like, yes, finally.
What is-
You know, like when freaking what's his face goes, Ramsay.
Oh, when he meets his
That's
ends?
when you're
yeah,
cheering.
That's when you're cheering.
Yeah.
When Joffrey died.
I can't wait
Yes.
for Ramsay to sit on the throne. I mean, spoilers.
What?
I'm kidding.
What does Davos do next? That's kind of the final thought here, because Davos, everybody loves Davos. I don't know that there's a person out there, and Davos was right. I think we can all
Yep.
kind of agree on that. Should have left the family up at the wall. Davos has made so many strong predictions about that witch, Melisandre.
And Davos is back at the wall.
Davos
Yeah.
is back at the wall.
And
yeah.
things just went really south.
Yeah,
there.
went real south up north.
I could see Davos trying to kill the Red Witch again. He tried to do that in season 3, right? 2 or
yeah,
3,
he definitely
something
tried
like that.
to. Yeah.
I could see him cracking over Shireen's death. And,
Absolutely, yeah.
And trying to take her out.
Jonathan?
And Davos is one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
I hope he's in that library reading some more, because that was one of the most heartwarming portions of the entire series, was where Davos is learning how to read. He's such a likable character. That being said, he is one of the more seaworthy characters on the show, and if you can get protection from the White Walkers by taking to the water, I see him being a pretty crucial part
Oh,
of the
good
defense.
call.
Interesting that the boats are
Yeah.
still, they still have Stannis' boats, obviously. Davos has always been a follower, clearly. He devoted himself to Stannis after a life of quote-unquote crime, which it was, but he always defends himself as not a pirate, he's a smuggler. There's a difference. I would love to see him become a leader, because I think Davos
Yeah.
has a lot of strong qualities that a leader should possess, and it'd be very interesting. Not that there's many to lead, but he is up at the wall, and they clearly have just lost a leader.
And they have nobody there that kind of
Yeah.
dovetails with his sensibilities. I mean, everybody there is a really bad person.
Yeah.
So Davos is alone in being one of the more
Yeah.
noble people.
Yeah. So plenty of thoughts, obviously, and we want to continue forward in the season. We're going to jump the narrow sea, and we're going to go see Arya.
Ooh.
So Arya's story, at the end of last season, we saw her sailing off on the boat, and then this season she arrives in Braavos, and she is looking for the House of Black and White, which she finds. She's still saying her prayer. Jaqen Hagar returns!
Woo!
Jaqen returns, although, interestingly enough, he is not Jaqen Hagar, he is no one.
Yep.
And he tries to get a girl to become no one. He eventually accepts the fact, after she really, really badly wants to know where the bodies go, because she is, of course, made to serve. He accepts the fact that she's not ready to be no one, but perhaps she's ready to be someone else. So she becomes Lana, and she's selling oysters, clams, and cockles, I think, or
Yes.
something. Yeah. And, of course, she's going to get her first assignment to kill the Thin Man, which she does not do, because instead she sees Meryn Trant, who is there, sent off by Cersei with Mace Tyrell. By the way, all-star performance from Mace Tyrell there. Him singing and everything. I mean, that was
Yes!
awesome. And of course, the long and short of it is that she straight up stabs Meryn Trant
She was a little spider monkey.
in amazing ways.
Yeah.
She went crazy.
Yeah,
She went
and-
like, you ever see American Me?
Nope.
That movie?
No, thanks, Jonathan.
Man,
Great.
she went full prison on that guy.
That was an obscure reference.
Oh.
So Arya obviously then ends her storyline with being blinded, because Jaqen, of course, says there's got to be payment because the debt is owed to the many-faced god. and the faces are just like poison. And I don't know that anybody ever clarified for me in the comments whether or not those faces were people she had.
Oh, I forgot to look into that.
Yeah, that was one of my many faults to forget to look.
Don't you think it's a strike against the entire idea if they were? You know, if it goes against the whole idea of they're a faceless one. I mean, it's one face.
But that's the point.
For the other.
If those faces mean something, they only mean something to someone.
They're poison.
Right. So she's not no one yet.
She's not no one.
Why do you think she went blind? What do you think the story is there?
Why do I think she went blind?
Yeah.
I think that is her punishment. She is either going to be on board with the faceless men, or she's going to die. I don't think there's getting out of this club. I think that you're in this club, and you have to learn how to behave in this club, and this is going to be one way that she...
I thought the blindness was more symbolic in the sense that she can't... Now she literally cannot look at faces. She cannot gain attachments in that way anymore.
Well, yeah, she's going to have to. She's going to have to learn to be.
But that's what I mean. I don't think it's just strictly punishment. I think that's actually a lesson to be learned.
I like
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank
That's
you.
I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah, you want to? Do you want to swap
I
seats?
like that one.
We could swap.
No, I mic'd into this chair. I have to
That
stay
was
here.
good.
No, that's great. Does that sufficiently answer your question?
Yeah, I could
Jonathan?
see that as being okay. If you're not going to learn the lesson the way we told you,
We're gonna have
you're
to
going
force
to
you
learn it this way.
learn
Or as my
yeah.
dad back in Texas would say, some people just have to pee on the electric fence for themselves
Oh gosh.
instead of reading
So,
the
do you
sign.
guys agree with Arya's decision making this season?
I think I said this in the last episode, but I feel like this is the first time Arya was making decisions not based on survival and based out of more selfish reasons, and I think that's why she's now ended up in kind of a bad position.
Yeah.
So,
Is it a bad position?
Well, being blind, you know.
That's a bummer.
But she also has an ability that a lot of people don't have, especially as a Stark. Like, she has an anonymity. She has the ability to now go and gain vengeance or shift chess pieces without anyone noticing her. I mean, she's got the anonymity that Sansa doesn't have. She has the anonymity that Jon didn't have.
Yeah.
None of the Lannisters have it.
What I did love about her story is, in this season especially, is that we are reminded that she's still a kid, because she's been so wise beyond her years throughout this entire show, and like really sticking up for herself and really knowing how to survive and like being her own person. And then this is the season where we see her desires and her wants get the best of her. And then her last scene when she's like freaking out because first off she thinks the faceless man is dead, and then she's blind. Like, we actually see the kid again in her.
Well, for so long we've
kid.
cheered her on as adults cheering on an adult who's clearly got experience, and it's like, no, she's a kid.
Right.
She's straight up inexperienced in the world, as the Hound kept telling her over and over and over again.
Yeah.
What do you guys think no one's, and I'm using no one, Jaq and Hagar, what do you think no one's motivation is for this? Like, what's he getting out of this? Is this a new disciple? Is there something else underlying this?
Well, I have a strong feeling that this club,
the Cool Kids Club,
joined, getting someone to even be a competent recruit is extremely difficult. It's not like they can bring in anyone off the street, so I'm sure he sees the promise in Arya and knows that is rare.
Yeah. Jonathan?
You know what? I realized as you're asking the question that I didn't see much in his intention at all, other than that he sees some of himself in her. But that goes against his entire
exactly.
Yeah, because he's no one.
Because I mean, remember when they met?
Yeah.
There was like a kinsmanship there.
Yeah.
You know, and her helping free him.
Well, then what is this leading to? Do you suppose? What's the culmination with Arya? We're getting into heavy speculation and prediction.
Actually, going with what Jonathan was saying earlier, with the anonymity.
Oh yeah.
She's someone who needs it. So maybe that's what he sees in her, someone who actually needs to be no one, while most people don't have that need. She's someone who needs to disappear and needs to not be who she is, so he can help her out.
That entire club, because we're just going to keep calling it that,
Club.
can shape the entire face of Westeros because of their abilities.
Yeah.
You mean they can change the face of Westeros?
Whoa.
I wish I could change mine.
Aww.
I wish you could too. Ray Romano. Who am I talking? I've got the Zohan over here. So do you guys
I don't
think
see it.
The final question, and again, there's so much to speculate on this, and honestly, Alison, you've given great insight onto this. So
Why, thank you.
I'm very proud to say Alison has graduated the program and is moving on. The final one here is, of course, is Arya blind forever? Is this forever blindness? No.
I don't think so.
Jonathan.
As a writer, I'd love for it to be true. I mean, I don't like when.
Oh yeah, you want to go Daredevil.
Well, it's not that I want to go Daredevil, and I do love Daredevil, but I like it when there's conviction to the choices that people make in their storytelling, and giving her that kind of a hard decision is awesome. And if they take it away, what does it mean? You know?
Yeah, I would like it to last, and for her to learn something. And I don't know if it's a lesson, if it's how to deal being blind. I don't know. I do want to see growth in this event, because if this event is pointless, why do it? I'm with you. So I do want this event to mean something for her to learn. So my prediction is that I think that it could go either way. I know it's a cheap answer, but I think it will probably be temporary because there will be a lesson to it. I hope.
Once she learns it.
Yeah, once she learns it, she'll be cured of blindness.
Cured.
So, speaking of another Stark, let's go over to Sansa Stark, who had a very easy season, full of uncomplicated things. It barely bothers to do a recap on Sansa's story, but of course, at the beginning, we discover that Littlefinger is taking her somewhere that Cersei Lannister can never find her or get her hands on her or something, and we're all like, where could that be? Oh crap, it's with Ramsay. And she refuses Brienne's help when Brienne shows up. And then, of course, that sets Brienne and Pod on their long journey of trying to protect Sansa. And they end up at Winterfell. Sansa has her wedding night, and Reek is there. He can tell you all about it. And then, of course, word gets to Sansa about lighting the candle in the Broken Tower. The old woman is flayed and displayed for Sansa to see what happens, because they make them tough in the north. It's just difficult. Ramsay's new mother is pregnant with a son. We find that out.
Right.
Miranda's there. She is sort of threatening Sansa. Sansa, before the wedding, shows some backbone and kind of threatens Miranda, and we were all like, yeah, and then the wedding happened. We were like, oh. Reek, of course, turns Sansa in with the candle, and then eventually, once Stannis' army shows up and is defeated, and Brienne and Pod turn their back at the very second,
Yes.
Sansa lights the candle, and Reek turns into Theon once again.
And
Yes.
flips Miranda over the edge. Best death.
Absolutely.
Pretty damn awesome.
Absolutely. If Sansa and Theon have lived after their jump, which I can only think they did, that there was an awesome snowbank underneath there.
I mean, it would be pretty epic if season 6
It's just them just...
like,
just
that's
pulled
how
out of
season
the-
6 ends. Like, we never see their storyline. We don't know what happens. And then it's like the snows are melting at the end of season 6, and you see dead Sansa and Theon, like, under the snow.
Next to the legless Stannis soldier.
Aww.
He got that far.
Oh, yeah, he got
Open the door.
If they live, can they escape? Can they get away from Ramsay and from Winterfell and from the Boltons?
I would love to see Ramsay go on a hunt and this time get foiled, or see Reek sacrifice himself so Sansa can get away in a way that he redeems himself.
That's a great point, though. So Reek has been on these hunts, so it would be very interesting if it was like
he
Predator
knows.
style,
Yes.
where he has all the traps set up. Like, that'd be rad. That'd
Yeah.
be cool. I'm sure that's a little bit of a fantasy for all of us, but that'd
yeah.
be cool. Do you think they can escape?
I don't think Sansa and Theon jump off the side of a battlement and only to be brought back in to Ramsay's control. I mean, if that was to happen, they would both commit suicide. I don't think that they would put up with that. They're obviously willing to chance death to get out of there. So getting back in just means that they're done.
Yeah, death isn't as bad as what
right.
could
So
happen.
I do think they get away. I'm hoping that Brienne actually has something to do with it, so she can kind of redeem herself for turning her back on the candle.
Because
she's in the woods now, so
Yeah.
they could potentially be meeting up with her.
And I want to get to that, but where do they go? Now they jumped out. What's like in their mind? Like, where are they going? Where's like the place that they're gonna head to?
I mean, I think immediately it's just away. I don't know if they've. I feel like that's what we would see at the beginning of season 6.
I feel like it's the wall, because
I think
Sansa
it's
just
Dorne.
found out from
that
Ramsay.
Jon's there.
Yeah, she
But
found
now
out about Jon
Jon's
being there.
not
But now Jon's not there, guys.
But North seems like the logical conclusion.
North does seem like
Yeah.
a logical conclusion, although Theon does, of course, have family in the Iron Islands. Or, not Iron. Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, the Ironborn.
His
Yeah.
sister, who was like, never mind. Want to rescue you, never mind. That was a lackluster rescue attempt.
We know that Littlefinger is in control of the Vale. She could go to the
Right.
Eyrie.
The Eyrie she could go to.
But
That does
that's
seem
an
like the safest place to stay. I don't know why.
But that's
they
an
left.
interesting question. Littlefinger has an army that he was sending to Winterfell. Cersei gave him the permission to do that. Well, the permission. He has the Lannister army to what I know, or he has his own army in the name of the Lannisters.
Right.
That he's going to take up there. So Littlefinger's army's up there. Brienne's up there. And here's another one that I'm just going to throw out there as total wild speculation. Sam and Gilly are riding south from.
Oh.
So are any of these potentials to find them along the road and help them out? And if they are, which I think they're at least potentials, all of them, which one would you like to see or do you think will happen of those kind of total speculative?
I like the Sam and Gilly idea that you just threw out. I would just that would feel almost too coincidental for me. That would be like too much TV magic. Solely because Sam's never met Sansa or Theon, so the chances of them meeting and then figuring out who each other are seem a bit too much.
Sure.
But I like the idea of them being together.
Hey, there could be little Sams there.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with Brienne and Podrick. Let's get those guys on board.
Yeah.
And I just love the idea of Littlefinger's army coming and just wiping the map of Ramsay.
Yeah.
But that being said, is it going to be that easy?
It's never easy
It's
with
never
Ramsay.
that easy. Ramsay's that good of a villain, which makes me ask the audience, if you guys are playing the Telltale Games series, he's basically the villain in the Telltale Games
sure.
Game of Thrones
Yeah.
series. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And you hate him that much more.
Ugh.
Yeah. Well, with the final thought on Ramsay, what does Ramsay do? He finds out Sansa has escaped.
Oh, he goes on the hunt.
Sure, but what does that look like to you? Is it a hunt? Is it an army out there? Is it like what? Is he so angry that he does something else crazy? Does him being so angry make him make mistakes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite scene of the Ramsay storyline was that scene where he realizes that he's not going to be the next heir to the throne.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. That being said, Ramsay's going to go on a hunt, and hopefully it does turn into like the Rambo First Blood scene.
Yeah.
But Ramsay's going to go on a hunt. My dream of dreams is that Theon does redeem himself by sacrificing himself so that Sansa can get away and run into the safety of Bran and Podrick, and then they go to the Wall only to help fix that whole situation, or to the area, which has only been invaded once. Not even it's never been invaded.
I don't think it was ever successfully.
successfully.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go there.
Or unless I think the dragons. I think the
dragons were
lore
the ones
is
that did
that dragon plopped down there and they were like, "Hey, so you guys are going to surrender now?" And they were like, "Yeah, okay, we're cool with that." No army ever made it through the bloody gate, but a dragon was like, "Yeah, I'll just fly up there," and so I'm here now. You guys are done.
You don't escape Ramsay. He's going to go on that hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty wicked. It's
Yeah,
gonna be awesome.
I don't want to eat too much time, but I just wanted to really quick throw out. I loved the correlation between the two scenes of Shireen and Stannis. Stannis saying, "You're my daughter, the Princess Shireen," and then of course the scene where Roose was like, "Yeah, you're my son. I raped your mom and then hung her husband in the tree while I took her." Yeah, brutal. So let's jump over. Back again across the narrow sea, Meereen.
Ooh.
Let's deal with all this fun stuffs in Meereen.
Dragons. The dragons.
So this season opens up with Sons of the Harpy showing up, revealing themselves, murdering the poor Unsullied that I now White Rat. Ha! Pulled that one out of nowhere.
Wow.
You're welcome, internets. Go check, see if I'm right. And of course, the Sons of the Harpy reveal themselves, and we have Dario and Grey Worm kind of working together to hunt them down. Barristan and Daenerys are talking. There's actually a scene before that, where they do find one of the Harpies. And Massador, we knew you so little. Massador was caught having murdered the son of the Harpy in his cell, and Daenerys took his life in front of the world, in front of Meereen, and had that really awesome. Like that scene was wild. So Daenerys is a little bit losing control. Dario says you got to get the dragons back into this thing. She's a little bit hesitant to go for Rhaegal and Viserion. And then Drogon returns. We see him. Barristan's killed tragically in his last stand. That was a bummer, and to say the least.
Yeah.
And of course, eventually Jorah, Tyrion show up in the fighting pits. Tyrion is Jorah's gift. Tyrion sent away. Fighting pits. Drogon returns. Cool stuff. Hizdar murdered because there's that whole marriage thing. Again, poor man's summary of this whole thing. We're just getting into the meat and potatoes of your thoughts and feelings on this. My first one is actually based on the very last scene with Daenerys. And it's one, really, that if you think about, from what the show's taught us, it's a very dangerous way to think about it. And it's not a pleasant thought. But the Dothraki show up. Mm-hmm. The Dothraki find a single girl in the middle of the wilderness. That girl's raped. Daenerys is raped by 400 men. Like, that's literally what would happen in that scenario. If they don't know who Daenerys is, that's what the Dothraki do. We saw it. That was the whole reason that Daenerys saved the witch woman who ends up betraying her because she was raped by like hundreds of Dothraki. That's the Dothraki take women and they ride them. That's the whole idea. We remember that all the way back in season 1. And so my thought process on this is, how does Daenerys get out of this? How does she avoid that fate? Do they recognize her? And again, I know this is a very dark way to take this, but in my mind, you just had a Dothraki army just show up on one poor girl out in the middle of nowhere.
I think as soon as she is this blonde woman who speaks Dothraki, they're going to know exactly who she is.
You think so?
There was only one.
There was only one. There's only one blonde woman that spoke Dothraki.
It was such a big deal for Drogo to marry her in the first place.
Khaleesi.
Yeah, she's a Khaleesi.
Oh, she also has this other thing called flap. She's got a dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, a dragon. That's where you're going with the flap.
Let's not forget about that. And dragons like to eat horses, I think. She's got a dragon.
Yeah. Drogon's asleep.
Drogon's asleep.
Drogon obviously shows up at the right time.
400 horses
but he
are really
didn't
loud.
All I'm saying is it was a really weird scene for me to end it on. It felt
suspenseful.
It felt like she was in a position of weakness, which I didn't particularly like. I would have liked Drogon to show up, and that's a position of power that we leave Daenerys on. I think that's a more powerful image.
But then she doesn't have an arc in this season.
For season 6.
I just think for a final image of Daenerys, I want to see her powerful, and I don't want to see her
that's where she
weak.
started. That's where she started this season, was in charge and powerful. If she can't end the season that way too. That was the whole point of watching of her story this season, was seeing how she finally, like, she took over a city. She's freed all these slaves. You think she's like on the right track, and then this whole season things were starting to crack and crack and crack, even though she kept doing the right thing. So this season was supposed to be like, oh, is Daenerys actually going to be able to maintain this power that she's created and potentially take over the Iron Throne?
See, I absolutely respect you guys liking that, and I do like that.
I'm not saying I like the position she's been in. I'm just saying she
like
needed
the
to
arc.
end that way.
I like what you're pointing out about the arc. It's just me personally, as a fan, I would have rather seen her in the final moment of season 5.
I would rather not see Jon Snow dead, but sorry.
But it's consistent also with the...
I just wanted to talk
Daenerys'
about my
entire
feelings.
season was being swarmed with powers that are swirling with it, like beyond her control. We saw it with the Sons of the Harpy. We saw it in the middle of the arena. This is stuff that has been happening just beyond her ability to control the entire season. And now they end the season, as Alison said, in a place where she is the least able to control. And we're going to start season 6, like, waiting to see what happens. And you know what? She is who I honestly think is going to end up on the throne, at least temporarily. So she's going to get out of it.
All right, but where's she go? Does she go back to Meereen?
With an army of Dothraki to clean out the Sons of the Harpy? Let's do it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
think so? Yeah, bring it on. Led by a dragon. I'm back. Merry Christmas. They celebrate that in Westeros?
No.
I don't think
Nope.
so. No, okay,
Nope,
got
absolutely
it. Okay.
not.
Right. All right.
Is Daenerys like her father? We kind of get indications a little bit of that. She does burn people. She's just like, hey, my dragons are going to choose the innocent and the guilty. And Barristan warns her of that. He says, your father felt he was being righteous and just until he started to burn people. And then we realized maybe he's not quite all there. And she follows a little bit of a similar path when Barristan dies. And then she kind of saves herself. Do you think there's a little bit of the Mad King in Daenerys?
I think she has the ability, but I think she recognizes that in herself, and that's why she surrounds herself with people that she trusts. I think that's the difference. The Mad King let himself get power hungry and went off on his own thing and didn't listen to anyone.
But as you pointed out, she doesn't have that infrastructure around her now.
She also, like you said, is in a position of weakness. So I don't think this is a point where the Mad King stuff.
But
comes
she's got
out.
a dragon, as Jonathan
And
pointed
she also
out.
has a Lannister, which is interesting that she not only has a support group, which is very important, but she also has a pretty varied support group. I mean, we're talking, former mercenaries. We're talking her arch enemy in a Lannister.
Yeah.
And a former slave fighter. And these are all people who are with her. She's in a good place to avoid becoming her father, which I guess you could accuse her brother would have become.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. 100%. I still think his death was
Yeah,
one of my favorites.
I just wanted to bring that up as an interesting thought that Daenerys is in this position of weakness, but she has come full circle, sort of. Her arc has come back to the beginning. It's an interesting place to regain power, to reevaluate the power structure, to get Dothraki on her side, get a huge army.
Oh, that army would be insane.
Yeah, that would be absolutely incredible. So I think it's a great spot for her, and I kind of just wanted to bring up the things that the show has taught us, and it's going to be interesting because she's going to have to work in a system where she's in a position of weakness, and I thought that was a very curious and is going to be very cool to see in season 6. Having said that, I want to jump over to Tyrion, because Tyrion's arc, of course, ends up in Meereen, but starts traveling all the way across Essos when he gets out of the box. Varys, what's in the box? Varys reveals himself to be true to the Targaryens, to the throne from the beginning. He reveals that he's been with Ilario Mapatis and other like-minded individuals. And they basically begin their journey. Eventually, Tyrion ends up in the brothel after having seen a red priestess who kind of like stared directly at him.
Yeah.
And then he is, of course, taken by Jorah. They go sailing, just having some fun.
Have a little fun. Let's invite some stone men. Hey, look, I saw a dragon. Sounds cool.
See a dragon, stone men. Jonathan's got it. They are eventually captured, and luckily Tyrion's mouth saves them. His tongue, his words, I don't know. Any of those words, any of what I just said sounded bad. But basically, Tyrion's able to get on board and save his own life. And eventually to the fighting pits. Jorah banished again. Comes back to the fighting pits. Tyrion decides whether or not Daenerys is worth him serving, which was just so cool. They share a powwow, and now Tyrion has Varys show back up and is put basically in charge by Daario, as Daario and Jorah, maybe the new dynamic duo out there hanging out. And Tyrion is now going to have to be in control of Missandei and Grey Worm.
What I love the most about this storyline is the secrets. I always like it in these kind of ensembles when characters have secrets. It's like something you always want to have your characters imbued with. And Jorah's got a huge one in the fact that he actually got touched by one of the. He's got grayscale.
Yeah.
You know, how is that going to start affecting the future buddy cop adventures?
Exactly.
Across, I think that's huge. And he's kind of someone who's now in decline. His days are numbered.
I would not be surprised if Daario ends up putting him down. Basically at a certain point, it will become. Jorah will have fulfilled whatever personal quest he needed to fulfill.
But grayscale's been cured.
It has.
Or stopped.
But if it can't be, I wouldn't be surprised if he basically was like he wanted the honorable death and wanted to go out, without suffering and things like that.
I don't think he gets put down. I think he sacrifices himself.
Sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. I know we're not talking about Tyrion, but I love that story. I mean, that secret is a huge one.
Yeah, no, we're talking about Tyrion, and I actually wanted to jump over to Tyrion because I know you wanted to mention Jorah, and you're right, that is a huge one. But jumping back to Tyrion, who would you guys rather sit the Iron Throne? We just got done talking about Daenerys, and now we're talking about Tyrion. Who would you rather sit the Iron Throne at the end, Daenerys or Tyrion?
Daenerys.
That was easy. She says it with such disdain.
I
angered
like
Alison by
goes,
suggesting that Daenerys was in a bad position.
No,
You're sexist if you say anybody else.
I know.
No, you didn't anger me by suggesting she was in a bad position. You angered me by not agreeing that she should be in a bad position. I just think Tyrion has too much baggage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's been too close to it. I don't think he would want it. Is the thing. I don't think Tyrion has a desire to be a king.
Yeah, I think I would agree.
He's almost better as the Hand. of the king.
Yeah.
That being said, I think he's probably the most just of any of them. I mean, Daenerys does have that angry, spiteful, vengeful side, which comes out of inexperience. And Tyrion was bred into this. He's been part of this system in power for almost his entire life.
He's played the game longer.
He's played the game, and having played the game, I think he's got a fairness that and he's been on the losing end of the game a lot. Like, because even in the Lannister household, he is the bottom, and knowing that, he could probably rule the top the best.
Yeah.
He'd be the most just.
Will Tyrion be able to solve the violence in Meereen on his quote unquote on his own without Daenerys showing up with the Dothraki army and a dragon? Will Tyrion be able to solve that?
I think he'll do a very good job of it. I think that's what Tyrion is great at doing is politics. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to agree. As simple as that.
Yeah. Good.
I know better
Hey.
than to fight.
Yeah, we know better than the fight. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Hey,
I'm sorry.
it's
Friendsies?
okay.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
Can we be friends again?
Yeah.
Can we be friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys. We're friends again. It feels good. I keep looking down at my notes. What will happen when Cersei finds out about Tyrion and Meereen? Because we have to assume she's gonna, right?
Can't wait.
She's gonna have to. I mean, the news is gonna get there. What is Cersei's reaction to that gonna be?
I almost feel like Cersei might have bigger problems at this point. Like, I almost believe that her finding out Tyrion is still alive would be more of an aggravation to her as opposed to it's boiling my blood, I need to do something about it. Solely because, as I've said before, this felt like the season of Cersei, and she's got way more on her plate than she did right after her father was killed.
Well, let's get to the season of Cersei in a second. I want to interrupt. Sorry, Jonathan. I want to jump to this thought. Do you think Tyrion, Missandei, and Grey Worm, do you think all three get to season 7? Do they make it through season 6?
Oh, man. Season 6. So much happened in season 5.
I know.
All 3 of them have to make it?
Yeah, you think so?
Tyrion, absolutely. I'm going to go with the Tyrion,
All right,
absolutely.
Tyrion, absolutely.
I'm going to go with the Grey Worm. You survived this far, but you're due for a dramatic exit. And Missandei, someone's got to grieve for you. So she sees the very early stages of season 7, but then her number starts to go up.
Ooh. Okay.
But yeah, it's not that easy is what I'm telling you.
All right. Let's jump to the season of Cersei, as Alison has
boy.
worded it, and I think is an apt wording. We start with the flashbacks. Your children will wear crowns of gold and shrouds of gold. And then there's this sort of battle between Marjorie and Cersei, and for a while we were like, man, Marjorie's winning this battle.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because of course there's the wedding night with Marjorie and Tommen, and Cersei's powerful scene I've brought up a couple times where she goes to see Marjorie after that, and she keeps telling Marjorie, if there's ever anything I can do for you. Man, that was some, it's crazy. Lancel shows up in this whole thing, reveals himself. Uncle
The
Kev
Sparrows.
comes back. The High Sparrow shows up. The Faith Militant is reinstated. Loras is arrested. He goes through the what do they call that? The the something. Anyways, because it's not a trial yet. It's the Inquisition or something.
Sure.
Inquest. But he's gonna have a trial. Marjorie is then arrested. Tommen's gonna go just burn the mother down. He's gonna go kill everybody, and Cersei's like, no, let me go talk to the High Sparrow. I got this. She doesn't really got that. She gets arrested. Walk of Atonement ends up coming up, and of course, Qyburn's creature is revealed. And in the midst of all of this, Olenna and Littlefinger have a scene where it's been pointed out to me that while Littlefinger's suggestion that he has found that he has a gift for Olenna, and we are led to believe that it is in fact Lancel, it's not actually directly stated that Littlefinger convinced Lancel to confess, because what power did Littlefinger possibly have over Lancel to do that? Mm-hmm. So maybe there's somebody else.
Oh, I thought it was the Queen of Thorns who convinced him. Littlefinger just provided her with the information,
right, yeah.
And then she was able to manipulate
it. Now some people have pointed out that that could be a red herring.
Right.
And it isn't Lancel and it's something else. Regardless, I'm just saying that scene happened too, and that was crazy. And there's all this wild stuff. What did you think of the season of Cersei? Did it give you
first off,
some of the comeuppance?
I'm a little bummed because last episode I gave Lena Headey major props for doing that walk, and then the very next day it's revealed that she actually had a body double do it because she was pregnant.
How dare you, Alison?
I'm gonna say that is the most legitimate excuse you can have, because if all of a sudden Cersei's doing this walk and she's pregnant, that throws a whole other storyline in. You're like, where did that come from? But,
huge credit to the CG team to be able to put
oh
those
my
things
gosh,
together.
absolutely.
That's
And
flawless.
huge credit to the woman whose body that actually was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And still,
that's flawless.
Lena Headey still did fantastic acting in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite scenes was that really awful knife-twisting Inquisition scene where you had that little mini trial where they just reveal, oh, so that's what you actually think is the truth? Let's bring him in, because he has a different story, and you're just sitting there going, oh, crap, this is all falling apart. That being said, as bad as you felt for Marjorie, man, seeing it turn around for Cersei when she went to clear things up and realized that she was the one that was now about to get raked across the coals was one of the most satisfying scenes that you ever had watching Game of Thrones, because you're just waiting for something to go wrong for her, and it went really wrong.
Yeah, will Cersei ever truly pay for her sins in full, do you think? Or will she be one of the ones alive at the end of this whole thing?
How do you burn that down? How do you
I don't think
remove
so.
that from the city? Jaime's going to return to a city that his family doesn't necessarily control anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think Cersei makes it to the end. I think she makes it very close to the end, because I think we all know that her death is something that people are going to be very, very excited about.
Will Cersei bounce back from this, and then the news that Myrcella is dead, and then the news that Tyrion is
alive.
Is alive and leading Meereen? Is she going to bounce back from this, or are we just going to see a further decline, breaking of Cersei?
Or is this the moment that makes her stronger?
Yeah, exactly. Does she bounce back to get stronger, or is this how she becomes the Mad Queen or something?
Right.
Thoughts?
I actually see her breaking even more and doing something that causes her own downfall.
Maybe something with her Kingsguard?
Or maybe she does something that ends up hurting Tommen. And then
Yeah.
Not Tommen.
Yeah, we mentioned
I
that
have a different
before.
suggestion.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh.
At what
What do you
point
got?
does she force Jaime to actually put an end to her? At what point does she become such a monster that Jaime,
that Jaime
in
makes
his
the
nobility,
decision.
is the one that actually
newfound
has
nobility.
his newfound nobility is going to go against the woman that he loves, and the woman that he loves now goes against everything he knows is right. It might be Jaime that puts her down. And knowing that would be one of the biggest moments of the entire series.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep writing, George.
You're welcome. Now, obviously,
I
there's
love that.
There's so much to talk about. This episode is, of course, getting very long for us, and I'm sure you guys watching at home are like, "No, please don't stop, keep talking," because we love hearing your voice, right?
That's what Twitter's for.
But we're going to move on to our final subject, which is Jon Snow, and it really goes.
I forgot we still had Jon Snow.
I know.
How did you forget that? I never forget.
It really kind of goes. It's really kind of pointless to sum up his story, because guess what, Jon's dead.
Or is he? I mean,
Or is he?
This is obviously the biggest topic of conversation.
That is the biggest
on the
one.
interwebs.
And I know what I said last week.
What did you
Last week
say?
I was like, that dude is dead. Because of course I love the conviction of a storyteller saying I'm going to make the hard decisions and I'm going to keep them. But then I started reading the internet. Thanks to you people. And what it led me, I started reading about the warging, about the god of light. I forgot about the dude who brought himself back to life a couple times, who also worshipped the god of light.
Beric Dondarrion didn't worship that until Thoros of Myr, a red priest, breathed the breath of life.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. That being said, it's happened a few times, and I was like, Jon can come back.
Yeah.
Oh my God, now I'm more convinced that we're gonna see Jon Snow in some form, resurrected, actually bring all the prophecies to fruition, and it's gonna be crazy.
Now, of course, Kit Harington has said, "I'm not coming back for season 6. They told me I'm not coming back. I already cut my hair."
Cut his
But
hair.
what about that
his
season
hair.
7?
What about
Yeah.
season 7?
But we didn't see Bran this entire time, and
That's
you
true.
know, like, I hope season 6 starts in a tree with Bran, figuring
And a
out how he's
crow.
gonna take down these White Walkers.
I would be interested to see if season 6 opens up with Melisandre missing from the wall, Jon Snow's body missing from the wall, and maybe Davos or some variation of that. and then we just don't hear about them.
I actually kind of agree with Jonathan that I don't know if we see anything with Jon Snow in season 6.
Well, no, but I'm saying we're gonna have to see the wall.
I don't know.
And you don't think we'll see the
We're
wall at
definitely
all?
gonna see the
I mean,
wall, but
maybe, but
No, you know
here's
what? Now
the thing,
kinda-
because we
I
don't
think-
have any major characters
Yeah.
at the wall. Davos, I doubt, is staying there. Sam's gone. What are we gonna do? Follow what's his butt? The gray-haired dude?
What's his butt?
Yeah.
what about the giant?
The giant.
What
We're gonna
one?
follow the giant at
No,
the
that's
wall.
really interesting. Because you know what would be really crazy? Littlefinger's army takes Winterfell. Ramsay dead. Bolton's dead. Sansa coming back into Winterfell, now gonna be the warden of the wardeness of the North with Littlefinger at her side, and Theon's there, and it's all cool. And then all of a sudden the White Walkers just show up outside Winterfell, having
And
never
they're like,
seen the
"What
wall.
happened
We
to the
we never
wall?"
saw the wall, and so we
saw it
never
fall?
we never saw the
Guys,
fall of
we
the
are
wall.
writing some good stuff
Man,
on
this
today's
is
episode.
great. And then Lord Adam returns.
Lord Adam.
What? No?
Well,
No.
Wait. Oh, it
Is this
became,
your fanfic
it became
again?
fanfic.
you
Yeah,
gotta see
yeah.
that wall versus the White Walkers. What I want to see is, okay, we open on Gendry rowing up to the wall.
Gendry.
All right, and then the Hound is like, "You are good little chickens," and he's raising the chickens. Nah, never mind.
All right.
Your story was better.
All right, well, some fan questions. That's where we got to move on to next.
do it.
Fan questions. We, of course, want to hear from you guys and your awesome thoughts here. So, fan question number 1 comes from Twitter. It's from @KimberLloyd. Who owns Dragonstone now that Stannis' crew are all gone? They need to place an ad in the real estate section of Westerosi Times. I find this to be an interesting question because, of course, he did straight up bail on Dragonstone. I could only assume that the Lannisters would have reclaimed it as it's off the coast from King's Landing. We're at least told that at some distance. So I would imagine that maybe the Lannisters took it over. But I want to kind of twist this question a little bit on its head and say, now that we've lost Stannis, and Stannis was, by the law, the rightful heir to the throne. By law, he was rightful heir. He was the eldest brother.
If you believed that Robert was a rightful king.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
Robert took the throne.
Yeah.
Right? He had he didn't have any children that were with Cersei.
Yeah.
So he has no children, so it has to go to his brother. Renly's dead, so it has to go to Stannis. Now that Shireen has been killed, because Shireen would be the rightful heir if Stannis was
Right.
dead, but now Shireen's
And Renly
dead.
wasn't having any babies.
Yeah, so now there's
He
no
wasn't sleeping with the right people.
now
to do
there's no
that.
Baratheons. The Lannisters have no claim to the throne, so the actual rightful heir at this point is a Targaryen.
Or the smoke monster.
Because you have to go back. You have to go back if there are any Targaryens,
Right.
because they were. Of
Well,
course,
that's why
ruling-
Dany has a rightful claim on the throne to begin with, because it should have been her throne before Robert anyway.
Yeah. before
Right, but
JB
now,
killed him.
we literally are looking at the rightful heir in Daenerys Targaryen.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Are you happy now that your girlfriend's the right?
Dude,
Yeah, right?
Dude, well, Lord Adam, what happens in the story?
Too
Lord
bad-
Adam and Daenerys.
Too bad she's gonna go on a couple horse rides first.
Oh,
I'm sorry, man. I had to bring it down.
Sure. So let's jump over to some more fan questions. These actually come from winteriscoming.net. If you guys haven't checked out winteriscoming.net, do that, because there's lots of awesome fan stuff all over that site, from blogs and information, news, maybe even some spoilers, so be careful. And although there's, I don't know, how much more can you spoil now that we're all caught up?
You guys are
But
the
check out
ones-
Winter's Coming.
You guys are the ones that made me read about warging for like 3 hours.
So our question comes from winteriscoming.net. This is from Akash Singh. I
Nice.
mispronounced the name, I'm sure. If you could write one scene differently, what scene would it be and why? So in season 6, if you could write one scene differently, what would you write differently?
Shireen getting burned.
Oh, that's
I would
kinda
write
easy.
her not getting burned.
That's
To what end?
Yes.
To what end?
to being the rightful heir to the throne, obviously.
Yeah.
She doesn't get
Davos
burned.
saving her somehow.
Yeah.
If she doesn't get burned, a lot of things don't happen that
I know,
move
I
the
don't
story
care.
forward. So I'm going to choose one that was argued pretty vehemently didn't move the story forward, was actually pretty sadistic towards that character. I'm going to go with Sansa's wedding night.
Yeah.
That was one that was viewed pretty heavily online and among the fans as just being excessive. I would rewrite that one. I wouldn't give her much better of a wedding night, but because it's Ramsay and he's awful. But
Well, and she needs the motivation to need to get
yeah,
out of there.
but that one was, it just seemed like it went above and beyond.
I would
cruelty.
rewrite the capture of Jaime and Bronn and the battle with the Sand Snakes. if from the beginning, it seemed a little ill-conceived to just be like, well, we're going to go in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to show up in
Right.
the middle of the day. We're all going to just get to these water gardens that clearly aren't guarded because obviously if
it
you
was-
have guards and already know Ilaria is planning it, wouldn't you just put the guards around Myrcella and then there would have been no thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my argument with the.
That was a
all
little
that stuff,
TV
yeah.
magic of a scene.
Yeah, a little bit
Yeah.
too TV magic.
That's
so,
what I'll feel like if Sansa meets up with Sam and Gilly. I'll like it, but it's a little TV magic.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to R plus L equals J's question for winterscoming.net.
I love your name.
That's of course a powerful name for those who get the reference. And the question is, who is the biggest winner of this season? Like, who ended up in the best position? Who ended up in the best
no one?
position?
Tyrion.
You're gonna say Tyrion. I'm gonna go and say ahead and say the High Sparrow, which
Ooh,
stinks.
good call.
It stinks to say that guy ended up on a winning season, but he did. It's like your least favorite sports team winning the championship. Like that guy's coming out of it in the highest position of power, and we all hate him.
Also, Roose Bolton taking out Stannis' army so easily.
I'm going to agree with your Tyrion statement and also go with Varys. Varys left a bad position and got what he has probably worked for years.
Yeah.
And so it's just a big payoff for him to now be in a position of power with presumably someone who Daenerys at least semi-trusts in Tyrion. So Varys doesn't really even have to defend himself too much once she shows back up because Tyrion's going to be like, yeah, Varys helped
This
me out a whole
guy.
lot. Yeah, this
Yeah.
guy. He's cool. He's the one who told me come here. So I think that's a great one. So R plus L equals J. Thank you for the question. Thank you all for the questions. We've got question number 4. We're doing a couple questions here. So another fan question. This one's from Mag. Who will take Winterfell from the Boltons? Jon Reborn, Littlefinger, or the White Walkers?
Oh, the White Walkers. Ooh. I like that this is assuming that Jon is coming back.
Or
Yeah, this
that he
is-
doesn't
yeah.
come back as a White Walker.
Ooh.
Oh.
Come at me, bro.
Come at me,
That's
bro.
how you raise them. That's how you raise them.
Yeah.
Alison, who
Yes.
takes Winterfell?
Who takes Winterfell? I could see Littlefinger doing with this army that Cersei's now given him. I could see Littlefinger coming back. I you know what? I could see Littlefinger coming back with this army, and for the very first time, his plan not going the way he wanted it to because Sansa has escaped. I
Yeah.
could see him coming back expecting to save Sansa, and then she's not there.
It'd be hilarious if Littlefinger shows up with like a stereo outside her window,
Good.
and
The
she's not
boombox.
even there. He's got
Yeah.
the boombox.
I go with Littlefinger takes it, and then the White Walkers take it from him.
Oh, that'd be
Ooh, I
a
like that.
harsh death
I
for
think
Littlefinger.
I think the White Walkers need to become forefront in every. If they didn't in our minds as viewers, they should be, and I think that they're going to become forefront in the characters of Game of Thrones very shortly.
So
and they
we
have to
open
be.
season 6 on Bran, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Like he's the biggest key that hasn't been shown in season
Yeah.
Yep.
5.
So our final question from the fans at winterscoming.net and from you fans for the season is from Stephanie. And I think this is a really great question. I think you guys are going to like it. It says, what makes people enjoy the story? The dramatic doom and gloom or the hope of a happy ending? Or I'll add something different. So I guess my answer to this is that everybody's answer obviously would be different. It's very personal on how you respond to the story. And Allison, how do you
I actually
relate?
don't think it's different. I think the reason people love this story is the characters. I think that's
crap,
the thing
she
you could.
wins.
I think the thing you could say about this story, about this show as a whole, is that these characters are so well fleshed out that you care about them. Like the best example, Ned Stark, season 1. He feels like your protagonist. He feels like you are watching his story throughout this show, and we are rooting for him. And when he gets killed, people lost their minds. And we feel that way about every single character. So that's why we keep watching, is because these characters are amazing. I don't think it has anything to do with doom and gloom or a happy ending. I think we just want to know what happens with these people.
Jonathan?
I'm absolutely in agreement with Allison. That being
dare you.
said, the show is really popular for its huge twists and those shocking moments, Ned being the big first one. But for me, I watch because it's a fantasy show, and I've been
You're
a
stealing my
fantasy
answer,
fan
yeah.
since. I mean, my first reaction when I saw the end of the Sons of the Harpy rescue was when I was in middle school. I wanted to see a Dragonlance movie. Like I read all the Margaret Weiss
Yes.
Tracy Hickman books, and of course, like I wanted to see a Dragon Riders of Pern movie. I wanted to see all those things, and now like we're getting a Shannara series. We're getting a TV series based on the Shannara series. We're getting all these fantasy things, and so it's the 12-year-old in me who was like, see, I got beaten up in middle school for a reason. This is all now becoming a geek golden age.
You understand why this is awesome
We have
now.
to celebrate it because who knows when we're going to get this stuff again. And it's done on such an incredibly human level that it's accessible to those of us who didn't grow up with it and didn't have an appreciation for looking in ourselves through seeing outwardly through fantasy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I could not possibly add to you guys' answer other than to say I agree that it is a combination of those two things. I think it's the characters in this fantasy realm, and fantasy is so huge to everyone. Of course, we all have our imaginations in our childhood to look back on, and the idea of just these fantastical or science fiction type realms that are so interesting and prevalent in our culture and society now. So I think that these real characters in a fantastical setting is really a great combination that is truly amazing.
Right.
So thank you guys very much for the question. Stephanie, what a great question, and what a great one to end for the fans. So thank you so much. Our final thoughts, really, really fast, really quick. Storyline you are most excited for in season 6.
Oh gosh.
I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to say I want to know what the heck happens with Bran.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a year. I want to know what happens. Jonathan.
I'm going to echo that one. I want to find out what's happening with Bran. I want to see where Gendry rode his boat to. And I also want to see how big the chicken farm's gotten that the Hound has started up.
Allison, storyline you're most excited for.
Arya. I want to see what blind Arya becomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Your biggest dream you want to see realized in season 6. Like, what's your fanfic for season 6? What's the thing that you're just like, man, I want to see this thing happen? Me? I want to see the White Walkers invade.
Oh, you
Absolutely.
want to see that.
I do. It's been building up. It's this threat that's been there this whole time. Let's get that thing moving.
Right.
Let's get everybody stop being concerned with each other and all of a sudden all go, oh crap, we've been paying attention to the wrong thing. Somebody come save us. Cue Daenerys and dragons.
Or let's unite. And I think that leads into what I want to see, but we probably won't get it until later. Season 6 seems like it's a little more aggressive. I do want to see a dragon just run fire across all those White Walkers.
And they just melt.
Yeah, or just have a war of the elements. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm
Allison?
going to say Sansa finally being independent, becoming her own person, not being under anyone's thumb or little finger. And Ramsay getting his due.
If you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching our show. We're going to leave you with our final prediction. And great patience to all of you if you have made it this far. And the last question is, who do you think currently, in your mind, is going to be sitting on the Iron Throne when this is all said and done?
I say Dany. I say Dany with a collection of the smart people she's put around her.
So it would be like Dany with
Tyrion.
Married to reboot Jon Snow 2.0.
I agree with this. I think it is a show. As I mentioned, it's a series about cripples, bastards, and broken things. I think it's going to be a collection of those people banding together to do great justice and to really sort of do better for the realm. I'd like to see that at the end. And I guess the actual line has always been, if you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention. But we all just did sort of hope for a happy ending
So
there.
the White Walkers are on the throne at the end.
No, Ramsay.
Yeah.
Ramsay's on the throne with an army of White Walkers at his command.
So we can't thank you all enough for watching us throughout the season. If this is your first episode watching, we've got 10 other ones where we recapped all the other episodes, although you've probably seen the show by now, so what's it matter to you? But thank you so much for watching us. On behalf of Allison, Jonathan, myself, Xavier Brinkman, who was not with us today but has been with us for 9 weeks of this show. Thank you so much to Xavier. Thank you to FanSided for making this show possible, Entertainment Weekly for making this show possible. Check out EW.com for all the latest news and gossip, and of course, winteriscoming.net. We won't see you next week, but hopefully we'll see you next season. Thanks so much, guys. Bye! And the Stream.tv. I totally forgot that. And the Stream.tv.